So in addition to doing raster pixel-based editing, Photoshop actually has a variety of different vector drawing and editing tools. In this lesson, we're going to cover some of those. To get started, you should have downloaded the Lesson 8 folder. Now there are two different exercises we're actually going to do for Lesson 8. The first one we want to start with is the Practice Start Photoshop document. So with this one open, double-click it in Photoshop. The first thing we want to do is to go to File, and let's do a Save As, and let's rename it Practice Working, and put your name on it. We'll keep it a Photoshop document and click Save. Now for this one, let's make sure it's large enough so that we can see and work properly. Go up to View and do Fit on Screen to zoom in so that we can see the entire document. The tool that we're going to be using is our pen tool. It looks like a regular writing nib pen, but be aware there are some other tools that look very similar to it, so make sure you got the regular pen tool to work in. Next, have a look at your options at the top of the screen. First off, make sure that shape is selected for the mode that we're working in. We're going to set the fill to be none, and we're going to set the stroke color to be just a default green. So you can open this up and choose any green that you want. The size of it is going to be 4 pixels wide, and the stroke alignment that we're going to set it to be is going to be in the center, so make sure that is selected. Going over to the far right hand side, you can see there's a variety of other different options. Clicking on the little cog wheel will open up the path options, and make sure rubber band is not selected. Finally, make sure Auto Add and Delete is checked on. Now since we're going to be working with vector paths, in addition to having the Layers panel open, it's also a good idea to have the Paths panel open. I'm going to drag it off so that we can see both the paths and the layers at the same time. So I'm just going to kind of dock them side by side, or if necessary, you can take them and stack them on top of each other so that we can see them like this. Now drawing with the pen tool in Photoshop is very similar to drawing in Illustrator. To draw straight lines, simply click on the first point and then move over and click on the second point, and it will connect in between both of those. I can see as I drew those, it didn't pick up on the 4 pixels. So one more time, I'm going to go up to 4 and hit return, and there we go. Now it's nice and thick. To stop drawing at any time, you can hit the enter or return key, and that'll lock in that transformation. Notice that when you draw a path, a new shape path will appear, as well as a shape layer in your Layers panel. To draw curve paths, we'll always start with a single point. So there it is for point A. Move to the next point and click and drag. So for now, I'm going to click and hold down my mouse. I'm going to drag it till it reaches that little white circle there. Next, we can click and drag because it's continuing the curve here. And then finally, to stop, simply click once and it will complete the curve. Just like with the others, you can hit the return key and it will lock in that shape transformation. Let's do the same for down here. Start with a single point, click and drag up. Since it's curving, we're going to click and drag again, and then click and drag again, and click and drag again. As long as the line needs a curve, that's what we need to do to be able to align it up. To finally stop it, simply click once and then hit the return key. Now if your line is off by a little bit and doesn't look like a perfect curve, that's okay. The main thing I want you to understand is that clicking and just point by point will give you straight lines, as in up here, but clicking and dragging will give you the Bezier handles that will let you make a curve. To tackle the larger area, try to pay attention to what you need as you draw it. Think ahead. We're going to start off at point A, and you can see because it's a straight line, all we have to do is to click once per line. So this will always give us our straight lines point to point. However, once we reach here, we can see we start to need to curve our lines. So this is where we click and drag, and of course the exercise gives us the idea of where to drag to. As you're dragging, because you don't always have the little helper points, it's good to just pay attention to where the lines are. And then finally you can click here and then move back up. Later on we'll talk about how you can fix little parts if they're off by just a little bit. Finally, before we close this out, check out your Layers panel. Every shape that we just drew has its own individual layer, and in order to see the vector path, you need to select that layer. So notice as I click here, the path will appear. If I don't have anything selected, then there's no path and no layer selected, and so that's why you can't see one or the other. Finally, I want you to go to File, and let's save this one. We'll say OK to it. Now, the book tells you not to save it or to turn it in, but for the purposes of the class, I do want you to save this Photoshop file and to turn it into the class Canvas page. I am going to close it out, and let's jump back into our folder.